Hey class, in this video we will be going over the checkpoints and portals lab for the artist here. We'll just be going over designing the checkpoints. To start, I'm going to make like a simple flag with a idle and an activated animation, and a checkpoint can be used to save the player's progress as they go through a level. Then we'll design a portal. Again, with an idle and an active animation, a portal can transport the player to another scene or another level, or it can activate a UI or something else within the scene. So once we've finished that, we'll post our sprite sheets on the open lab. So let's get started. So I'll start out in Piskel. I'm gonna resize the canvas to match the size of my player. So I'll do 64 by 64 for my checkpoints. And then I'm gonna save the file. So I'm going to start with the checkpoint idle, and this is saving the Piskel file. So if I want to edit it, I can come back later. I'm going to go to my MMP 270 folder and create a new folder for checkpoints and save it in there. Now I'll just choose my pen tool and choose a sort of dark gray color and just draw the pole of the checkpoint. And I'm basically drawing like a little flag like you might see in a lot of different video games like Mario or other games like that. And so it's pretty basic default that kind of signals to the player that this is a checkpoint. So if you reach this, you can see the flag change and you know you'll reach the checkpoint. You don't have to use a flag for this. There's a lot of other things that you could use, like a switch or a door or a button or something like that. A flag is definitely an easy go-to for a game because we've seen it in other games before. So for my idle animation, I'm just gonna have the flag kind of waving out to the right. And I'm gonna use a yellow flag so it stands out from the rest of the game. I don't think I've used yellow in any of my other sprites. And so I'm just gonna make a few frames and then just draw a simple flag. Nothing too crazy here. I'm just gonna kind of have it waving up and down. So it's really very simple, but I like that. I get a little movement there. It's a nice bright yellow color, so I think it'll be very easy for the player to see that. I'm gonna make the pole a little bit lighter. So it's very simple, but it will get the point across. So I'm pretty happy with that. I'm gonna save the Piskel and then export a sprite sheet. So I'll go to export and go to sprite sheet and click download. And then I'm just gonna make sure to get this in my checkpoints folder. And so now that I have my idle, I'm gonna save a new file that's a copy and call this checkpoint active. And so we just wanna change the color and maybe also change the direction of the checkpoint once the player has gotten to it. So that will indicate to the player that they've reached the checkpoint. So I'm gonna do this in a very simple way. I'm just going to flip all of the checkpoints using the mirror button, and then I'm just going to change the color of the flag. So a couple different visual indicators to just show that we've arrived or activated this checkpoint. So that's pretty simple. I'm just going to flip all those sprites and then use the fill color tool to fill all the flags at once with this nice purple color. And that looks good. So let's go ahead and download a sprite sheet. And there we go. So you could do a lot of different things with the checkpoints, but I'm just going to keep it simple for the sake of this demo. So I think that'll work for the checkpoints. Let's move on to the portals. So I'm going to open a new Piskel window and save this as portal. And I want to make sure to save the file. So I can put in the name, but I need to also click save as. So we'll go back to our MMP 270 folder. And this time I'm going to create a new folder for portals. And then I'll save my Piskel file inside that folder so I can come back and edit it if I want to. I'm just gonna create one pretty basic portal, but you could have lots of different portals, and portals can do lots of different things in your game. I'm just gonna use it to go from the end of one level to the beginning of the next level, but you could use it to go in between different parts of a level. You could have lots of different styles of portals, like you could have doors that go in and out of buildings. And essentially what a portal is going to do is open up a new scene. So one thing I want to do is make sure that the player can fit inside the portal. It doesn't necessarily have to look like that, but I think it's a little more realistic. So I'm actually going to start by going to my character animation and importing the character idle. So I'm going to go to import, I'm going to find my character animation, and then since I'm importing the image rather than the Piskel file, I just have to tell the import dialog how many columns and rows there are. So there's just a couple images, so there's just going to be one column and 2 rows. So now that I have the character art in Piskel, I'm going to make my canvas a little bit larger. So the character is 64 by 64. I'll make the canvas 96 by 96, and that'll give me some space to draw a little portal around the player. So I'm going to turn on the onion skin and go to a new frame. And then I'm just going to kind of draw a portal around this player. It's going to be kind of abstract, so it's not going to look like a door. I think I'm just going to kind of draw like a little dirt mound thing that the portal will go into, since the rest of my scenery is all natural, like grass and dirt and trees and stuff like that. I think it makes sense to just keep things in that natural palette. But in the middle of the portal, I'll have something animated and a brighter color, maybe matching the character to indicate that this is something that you want to go into. So I'll start just drawing an outline around the character using this kind of brown color for some dirt. And then I'll draw another little outline around that to give it a little bit of a shape. And then I can fill that in and then do some highlighting. So I'll use my lighten and darken tool to give this a little bit of detail. So then I'm going to choose a color to kind of fill in the portal. So I can use a pink color. And so this will stand out, but it also match the color of the character. So I think this will indicate to the player that this is a place that they want to go. So I'm going to add a couple of frames and then fill in some highlighting in the different frames to create a little animation effect that will draw attention to the portal and hopefully make it clear to the player that it's somewhere that they want to go. And I'm going to continue using the lighten and darken tool just to add in some highlighting. And that will create a little animated effect. And I can remove the player so it'll be easier to see the animation. And then I'm just going to fill in some highlighting for the last portal. So I'm pretty happy with this. I'm going to make sure to save the file. So I'm going to save this as portal idle and make sure I spell idle right, and then click save as. And I'm going to make sure to put this in my portals folder so it's easy to find later. So that's my portal idle animation. And so now I can move on to the active animation. So we want to have a different animation for when the player gets into the portal to make it clear that they've entered the portal, so they'll know that something has changed. So I'm going to rename this file portal entered and save as. So I'll save a new copy of the file. And for this animation, I'm going to keep things simple. I'm just going to kind of draw a bunch of little dots, little pink dots around the edge, just to kind of show that the portal is activated. So it's just going to kind of highlight the portal a little bit and just give a sense of activation. All right, so I'm happy with that animation. I'm going to save that and then export my sprite sheet. So I'll go to export and download a PNG. Make sure to go to my portals folder and save portal entered. And it looks like I forgot to save my portal idle. So I'm going to make sure to open that again and save that. So I'm going to go to the import tab and go to browse Piskel and bring my portal idle back. And just make sure to export that sprite sheet. So go to export and download sprite sheet, put it in the portals folder again, and now I should be good to go. I have two sprite sheets for the two states of my portals, which I can add into Godot. All right, so now that we have our checkpoints and our portals, let's go post them on the Open Lab. So I'll click on New Post, and I'm going to search for the checkpoints and portals category. And this is for the artist tier, so make sure to put artist. And we'll say my checkpoints and portals. And so now we can just upload our checkpoints. We can use our sprite sheet. So I'm just going to do a little description. So for the checkpoints, I created a flag with a yellow idle state and purple active state. So just a short description, and then we'll go into our artist folder and go to checkpoints. And I'm just going to drag these two guys over to here and make a little gallery. And that looks good. I don't want to crop the images. And they're pretty small. You might want to export them a little bit larger, but that's what they would look like in the game. So let's keep that for this. And then let's say for the portals, I used what did I use? Kind of like a dirt mound with a purple portal color. So let's go to our portals and grab those two animations. And then we might want to put them in the right order. So we have idle and active. The checkpoints, you really could use them in either order. It's not exactly required that they go in a certain order. Let's turn off crop images and let's preview that. And that looks pretty good. The adding in the label kind of makes things look a little different in this layout, but that looks good enough. So I'm happy with this. So I'm gonna go ahead and publish.